This is a classical conditioning experiment. You will need something sour that you can put in your mouth. So either a lemon or lemon powder, whether that be a high C or Kool-Aid without the sugar, or something very sour that when you put to your tongue it will cause salivation. So what you're going to do is when you hear the word pavlov, you are going to either stick it on your tongue or dip it in the powder, dip your finger in the powder and stick it on your tongue. Okay, so I'm going to be reading from www.biography.com from Ivan Petrovich Pavlov. So from now on, every time you hear the word Pavlov, I want you to dip your finger onto the sour and put it on your tongue, or put the sour on your tongue. All right, and you got to pay attention because every time I say the word Pavlov, and you should do that right now, you're going to want to do that as soon as you hear the word Pavlov. Pavlov. Okay. Ivan Petrovich Pavlov, this is his biography. He's a scientist, a physiologist, and he was born in 1849 and died in 1936. He's a Russian physiologist. Ivan Pavlov developed his concept of the conditioned reflex through a famous study with dogs and won a Nobel Prize award in 1904. Synopsis. Born on September 14, 1849 in Ryazan, Russia, Ivan Pavlov abandoned his early theological schooling to study science. As the Department of Physiology head at the Institute of Experimental Medicine, Pavlov's groundbreaking work on the digestive system of dogs earned him the Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine in 1904. Pavlov remained an active researcher until his death on February 27, 1936. Early life and education. Ivan Petrovich Pavlov was born on September 14, 1849 in Ryazan, Russia. The son of a priest, Pavlov attended a church school and theological seminary. However, Pavlov was inspired by the ideas of Charles Darwin and I.M. Sechenov, the father of Russian physiology, and gave up his theological studies in favor of scientific pursuit. Pavlov studied chemistry and physiology at the University of St. Petersburg and received the degree of Candidate of Natural Sciences in 1875. Pavlov then enrolled at the Imperial Medical Academy in St. Petersburg, completing his graduate dissertation on the centrifugal nerves of the heart in 1883. Groundbreaking physiological discovery. After graduation, Pavlov studied under cardiovascular physiologist Karl Ludwig in Leipzig, Germany, and gastrointestinal physiologist Rudolf Heidenhahn in Breslau, Poland. With Heidenhahn, Pavlov devised an operation in which he created an exteriorized pouch on a dog's stomach and maintained nerve supply to properly study gastrointestinal secretions. He then spent 2 years at a laboratory in St. Petersburg, where he researched cardiac physiology and the regulation of blood pressure. In 1890, Pavlov took charge of the Department of Physiology at the newly created Institute of Experimental Medicine. Pavlov was also named Professor of Pharmacology at the Imperial Medical Academy, and 5 years later was appointed to its vacant chair of physiology. During this period, Pavlov focused on the secretory activity of digestion in dogs, implanting fistulas in their salivary ducts to record the uninterrupted effects of the nervous system on the digestive process. Pavlov's observation led him to formulate his concept of the conditioned reflex. In his most famous experiment, he sounded a tone just before presenting dogs with food, conditioning them to begin salivating every time he sounded the tone. Pavlov published his results in 1903 and delivered a presentation on the experimental psychology and psychopathology of animals at the 14th International Medical Congress in Madrid, Spain later that year. Awards and achievements. For his groundbreaking work, Pavlov was named the 1904 Nobel Prize winner for Physiology or Medicine. More honors followed over the years. Pavlov was elected academician of the Russian Academy of Sciences in 1907, and in 1912, Pavlov was given an honorary doctorate at Cambridge University. Following a recommendation by the Medical Academy of Paris, Pavlov was awarded the Order of the Legion of Honor in 1915. Later years. Later in life, Pavlov applied his laws to the study of psychosis, arguing that some people withdrew from daily interactions with others due to the association of external stimuli with the harmful event. Although Pavlov was notably dismissive of psychology as a pseudoscience, his research helped lay the groundwork of several important concepts in the then-nascent discipline. Pavlov openly decried the war-torn conditions of his country after the Russian Revolution of 1917. He towed a dangerous line with his criticism of communism after visits to the United States in the 1920s, though he escaped prosecution due to his standing as one of Russia's preeminent scientists. Pavlov softened his tone in his later years of life, perhaps due to increased government support of scientific research. Pavlov remained devoted to his lab work until his death from double pneumonia on February 27, 1936, in Leningrad. Personal life. In 1881, Pavlov married pedagogical student Serafima Vasilyevna Karchevskaya. The couple had virtually no money in their early years together and often lived separately until their finances stabilized. Their first son died suddenly as a young child, but they proceeded to have 3 more sons and a daughter. This is the end of the experiment. You no longer have to give yourself sour with the name of Pavlov. Now take a moment and just clear your mouth. Think about what you just did. What should happen is that now your body is classically conditioned to salivate when you hear the word Pavlov. Your body is anticipating getting a sour taste with the name Pavlov. So your body actually salivates when it hears the word Pavlov because it's dreading getting the sourness. It shouldn't last very long. In fact, the more I say Pavlov, the less likely it's going to continue. Your extinction should start immediately, as long as you don't continue to put sour on your tongue. Some people it lasts a couple hours, but you should be fine after that. This is a classical condition experiment, and you've just been classically conditioned, hopefully. Thanks for participating.